A morning that seemed peaceful at Buckingham Palace suddenly turned into a moment no one would ever forget. As the first rays of sunlight crept over the ancient towers, the familiar calm of the royal residence was shattered by a haunting sound, the thunderous, furious scream of King Charles himself. No one could have imagined that behind those majestic gates, a storm of anger had been quietly brewing, and now it had finally burst free. No one had time to grasp what was happening. Palace staff froze mid-task, their faces pale with fear. The normally orderly atmosphere was replaced by a heavy, suffocating tension. Royal guards stood still like statues' eyes locked on the source of the outburst, while the entire palace seemed to hold its breath. What could have pushed the usually composed king to such a breaking point? What secrets lie behind the royal walls? Stay with us as we uncover the full truth. And don't forget, leave a 1 in the comments if you empathize with this story, or a 0 if you see it differently. Share your thoughts with us below. Like and subscribe so you won't miss what happens next, where we reveal all the secrets behind this unfolding royal drama. An unprecedented scene shook Buckingham Palace on what was supposed to be a quiet and peaceful morning. Suddenly, King Charles's furious and resentful voice echoed powerfully through the gilded corridors of the palace, piercing every room and shattering the usual calm atmosphere. His words carried deep disappointment, pain, and a long-suppressed rage finally unleashed, causing the nearby servants to halt their tasks, their faces paling and trembling in the sudden tension. The guards stood motionless like statues, their eyes fixed on the source of the outburst, as if the entire palace held its breath in that moment. Everyone sensed the gravity of the situation when they realized that the target of the king's fury was not a court official or an outsider, but Queen Camilla, the wife and companion whom everyone expected the king to protect and cherish. This confrontation not only suffocated the palace air, but also opened a new tense and volatile chapter in their relationship, raising serious questions about the future of the monarchy and the bond between them. According to insider sources that have been leaked, King Charles uncovered a shocking and almost unimaginable truth. A priceless piece of royal jewelry had mysteriously disappeared from the secure vault within the palace. This revelation sent shockwaves through the royal household, triggering an intense investigation. As the inquiry progressed, every lead and piece of evidence began to converge on a single person, Camilla. The very woman whom King Charles had defied centuries of royal tradition to elevate and crown as queen was now cast into the harsh spotlight of suspicion, raising questions and tensions that rippled through the corridors of power. The king's fury was not merely a reaction to the loss of an invaluable family heirloom, but the result of simmering doubts and long-standing disappointment that had built up within him over many years. These feelings had not been openly expressed, but they quietly existed, gradually eroding his trust and affection for those around him, especially within the family. The loss of the royal jewel was the final straw, causing all the long-held feelings of disappointment and doubt to erupt into an uncontrollable fury. It was not merely a material loss, but a blow to the honor and prestige of the royal family, something the king could not tolerate. What truly transpired behind the solid, magnificent walls of the palace, the symbol of England's supreme power and tradition? Was it Camilla who really took the missing royal jewel? If the answer is yes, what was the motive behind such an act? Could it have been a mere accidental oversight? Or is there a more intricate and calculated conspiracy unfolding quietly in the shadows of closed doors? These questions not only spark curiosity, but also raised suspicions about the underlying motives behind the event and whether it could be the beginning of larger upheavals within the royal family. The scandal is rocking the entire nation, raising serious questions about loyalty, power, and the secrets hidden behind the dazzling facade of the Windsor dynasty. The crown may glitter on the outside, but beneath that noble velvet could lie a dark truth few dare to imagine. Did Camilla truly take the ring, and if so, what was her motive? That question is now at the heart of the incident, shaking the entire British royal family. As we delve into the details of the tense confrontation between King Charles III and Queen Camilla at Buckingham Palace, we can't ignore the silent cracks that have formed between them for a long time. Cracks that may now be on the verge of breaking wide open. The story began when Camilla officially took on the role of Queen Consort. Initially, her role was seen by the public and the royal family as a traditional image. The wife standing behind her husband, supporting the king in ceremonial duties and maintaining the image of a devoted spouse. Like previous queens, she primarily carried out symbolic duties, representing the royal family at public events, and striving to uphold the image of a loyal woman, supporting the king's position. Although these tasks were important, they were rarely highlighted or emphasized. However, over time, Camilla's role began to change subtly but significantly. She was no longer just a wife standing behind her husband, but gradually became a figure with considerable influence in the internal decisions of the royal family, as well as in foreign affairs. Her image shifted from a silent symbol to that of a woman with a voice and a more active role in significant matters. These changes not only altered the public's perception of her, but also impacted the royal family internally as she demonstrated a strong involvement and influence in important decision-making. Camilla's influence has been steadily increasing. She has started to appear independently at public events and participate in interviews without prior approval from King Charles or senior palace advisors. Some observers have pointed out that she is gradually breaking away from the traditional mold of a spouse. Historically, this role has been built around close coordination with the monarch, where the spouse typically plays a supportive role and maintains the image of the royal family. However, Camilla seems to be shifting this approach, demonstrating a clear autonomy and actively engaging in public decisions and activities. Camilla's growing autonomy has raised concerns among some within the royal family. This change not only erodes long-established customs and protocols, but also raises the question of whether Camilla is simply seeking her own voice, or if she is quietly preparing for a much more powerful position. These questions not only spark doubts about her future in the royal family, but also heighten tensions about her role moving forward as the power dynamics within the monarchy may be set to shift. An official change in her status sent shockwaves throughout the royal family and beyond. The royal website, traditionally a reflection of the monarchy's hierarchy and roles, quietly updated Camilla's title from Queen Consort to simply Queen. At first glance, this might seem like a subtle shift or a mere linguistic adjustment, but in the delicate world of royal protocol, this seemingly minor alteration carried significant implications. The adjustment was not without controversy. Reports from the media indicate that the change in Camilla's title has faced opposition from certain individuals, most notably King Charles himself. According to sources close to the royal family, while Charles is believed to support Camilla's increasingly prominent role in public life and royal duties, he was not entirely comfortable with the alteration of her official title. His hesitation partly stems from the fact that the title Queen Consort had been formally declared and publicly wished for Camilla by his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II. Adhering to the late Queen's wishes has long been regarded as a sacred and traditional obligation within the British royal family. Nevertheless, despite Queen Elizabeth II's clear directive, it appears that Charles ultimately gave reluctant approval for Camilla to be referred to simply and formally as Queen. This change, though seemingly minor in wording, carries deep symbolic significance as it reflects a shift in power and a redefinition of the monarchy's image in the public eye. For some, the decision is even seen as going against the late Queen's explicit intention, sparking controversy over whether royal tradition is being eroded in the face of modernization. The matter continues to raise questions about Camilla's true role and the complex balance between duty title and official recognition, both within the royal institution and among the public. Camilla's growing autonomy wasn't limited to ceremonial duties. She began making decisions that impacted the monarchy's daily operations, particularly concerning the management of King Charles's schedule and public engagements. Reports indicate Camilla independently canceled several of the king's scheduled appointments, citing that they didn't align with her personal interests or the direction she felt the monarchy should take. These actions were seen as signs of increasing self-assurance and demonstrated she was no longer a passive figure. When questioned about her decisions by royal aides and staff, Camilla responded candidly and unapologetically. She was reportedly heard to say, "It wouldn't do him any good. The Queen knows best." This statement clearly showcased her belief in her personal judgment and her expanding role within the monarchy. To some, this was necessary confidence. To others, it was a sign of overstepping boundaries. Camilla began making decisions without consulting King Charles. One of the actions widely considered a culmination point was her agreement to participate in an interview without his prior knowledge. This interview completely blindsided Charles and was a shocking move for the entire royal family. Camilla chose to appear in a private yet insightful conversation, and what she shared within it forever changed the trajectory of her role within the royal institution. The content of the interview was not only shocking, but utterly controversial. Camilla publicly discussed her vision for the future of the monarchy and revealed personal plans that had never before been shared publicly. More importantly, these plans had also never been discussed with King Charles. Camilla described the interview as a candid and authentic look into her personal views, but it quickly became the focal point of tension and suspicion as she spoke about strategies and initiatives she envisioned for the royal family. What shocked many close to the crown was Camilla's revelation of details about plans Charles had shared privately with her under the assumption they would be kept in absolute confidence. This betrayal deeply hurt Charles, as he had always seen Camilla as his most trusted confidant. Hearing private conversations exposed in the media felt like a blow to his trust. What should have only been behind-the-scenes strategic discussions about the monarchy's future now became public fodder. Camilla's openness about confidential information not only humiliated Charles, but also made him feel utterly betrayed, not just by his wife, but by the person he trusted more than anyone. For Charles, this betrayal was the last straw. He had long valued discretion and privacy, and the public exposure of his most intimate conversations was beyond his tolerance. For years he had been patient with the complexities of his marriage, but this action forced him to confront a painful truth: the rift between him and Camilla had become too wide to continue ignoring. Between Charles and Camilla, an undeniable rift has formed. It is time to confront her directly and hold her accountable for her actions. The future of their relationship and the monarchy itself hangs in the balance. One morning after Camilla's shocking interview, tension filled Buckingham Palace. Camilla was notably absent the previous evening, an unusual occurrence, especially amid the ongoing crisis. As hours passed, Charles grew visibly agitated. He was a man under immense pressure. Close sources described him pacing like a lost soul throughout the royal residence, breaking the usual calm that defines the palace. Witnesses could sense that something deeply troubling was unfolding. Upon learning the content of Camilla's interview, Charles demanded her immediate return to the palace. Yet he received no response from his wife. The situation escalated rapidly. The king was seen wandering the palace grounds, either waiting for her return or sending out a stream of frustrated messages. His anguish was palpable. This was no longer the composed king the public knew, but a man betrayed and isolated, finding no comfort from the partner he once trusted completely. When Camilla finally arrived at the palace the next morning, her demeanor was nothing short of cold and disdainful. She reportedly walked past staff with her head held high, pointedly ignoring their greetings. The entire space was filled with an anxious silence as she proceeded to the meeting room where Charles awaited. Camilla entered with an unsettling confidence, her gaze steely, her stride straight and rigid. The moment she crossed the threshold, one could distinctly feel a storm brewing. Charles stood in the center of the room, his eyes fixed on her. His face was a mask filled with barely suppressed fury. As their gazes met, he erupted. His voice trembling, he stated that the monarchy was not a stage for personal agendas. He emphasized that Camilla could not speak indiscriminately without considering the consequences. But the climax came when he questioned her loyalty, hinting at the betrayal he felt from her. Camilla showed no signs of remorse. Quite the opposite. She appeared more assured than ever. In the face of scrutiny, she stood tall and composed, her posture firm and her gaze steady. There was no hesitation in her voice, as she declared that she saw nothing wrong with her actions. To her, she had simply exercised her right. The right, she believed, came with her position as queen. She firmly emphasized that she was indeed the queen, and as such, she had every right to express her thoughts openly without apology or justification. This assertion, delivered with such certainty, struck a harsh and unexpected chord. To Charles, it felt like a stinging rebuke, not just of his authority, but of the delicate balance he had tried to maintain between public tradition and private emotion. However, the pain he felt did not stem solely from her bold words spoken in public. What truly cut deeper was something far more intimate and unspoken, an emotional undercurrent that had been lingering beneath the surface of their relationship for a long time. It was a truth both of them had quietly avoided, perhaps out of fear, pride, or a desire to keep peace. Now, with Camilla's unapologetic declaration, that long-ignored tension was exposed. The wounds it revealed were not fresh, but old and unresolved, quietly accumulating beneath years of compromise and royal duty. And in that moment, the hurt Charles felt was not just from what had been said, but from what had remained unsaid for far too long. What do you think hurt Charles the most? Camilla's harsh words, or the emotions that have been buried for many years? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like if you find this content interesting, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next dramatic stories. In that moment of peak tension, the king finally could not contain his long, simmering rage. His voice trembled, echoing through the room. He screamed, "You are the one who stole the royal jewels, you stole my ring." His accusation cut through the thick silence like a knife. He looked at Camilla with eyes full of hurt and fury. The answer seemed too clear and too painful. The room fell silent. The ring Charles referred to was no ordinary piece of jewelry. It was the king's personal insignia, a symbol of royal power, authority, and legacy. Losing it, or worse, having it stolen, was a fatal blow not only to him, but to the monarchy itself. King Charles's signet ring is a royal heirloom steeped in history more than just an accessory. It's a symbol of identity, personal style, and a familial connection spanning generations. First appearing publicly with him in the 1970s, the signet ring became an unmistakable hallmark of his royal attire. Its design and material reflect centuries of tradition. Crafted from Welsh gold weighing approximately 20 grams, the ring adheres to the classic style of royal jewelry, carrying within it both the past and future of the throne. Losing it isn't just losing a treasure. It's losing a piece of the soul of the legacy. King Charles's signet ring is far more than mere jewelry. It's a symbol of royal power and heritage, a sacred heirloom passed down through 3 generations, starting with Prince Andrew of Greece and Denmark, through Prince Philip, and then to Charles himself. Worn on his pinky finger, the ring embodies history, tradition, and a deep intergenerational bond within the royal family. For Charles, the ring represents the continuity between past and present, while for Prince William, the future heir to the throne, it's a tangible and spiritual link to his father. The loss of the ring isn't just a material loss. It's a profound emotional and symbolic blow, shaking the very foundations of the royal legacy. Immediately following the magnificent coronation at Buckingham Palace, a disturbing incident occurred. King Charles's precious signet ring mysteriously vanished. The news spread rapidly, creating an atmosphere of suspicion and tension within the royal family. Charles, usually composed, was deeply shocked this time. He was almost in a state of panic, unable to fathom how such an important item could be lost. The gravity of the event not only affected his personal life, but also shook the royal trust and responsibilities he bore. In the ensuing days, Buckingham Palace became the hub of an intense investigation. Palace staff and security teams searched every nook and cranny, meticulously looking for the ring. Despite their efforts, the search yielded no results, and the pressure mounted. In closed-door meetings, rumors began to circulate. Some believed the ring might have been sold or stolen by a royal family member or insider who had access to the king's private quarters. The narrative became even more dramatic, with suspicions that someone was exploiting the situation for personal gain. Amidst this crisis, one person's indifference stunned many Queen Camilla. While Charles was consumed by grief and worry, she remained composed, continuing her daily duties and making significant decisions without showing any concern or acknowledging the severity of the ring's disappearance. This cold demeanor fueled suspicions and tension between them like a smoldering fire threatening to ignite at any moment. When Charles grasped the gravity of the situation and began to suspect Camilla's involvement, the tension in the palace reached its breaking point. He couldn't endure the feeling of betrayal from his life partner, the one he had trusted most. Camilla's coldness and disdain during those days were like daggers piercing the king's heart. Every encounter between them was filled with suffocating silence, tension, and unspoken accusations. The rift between them could no longer be hidden, signaling an inevitable confrontation and unforeseen consequences for both their personal relationship and the monarchy. While Charles grappled with the pain of losing his ring, a sacred symbol of royal heritage, Camilla seemed to be forging ahead with her own agenda. She disregarded the cost to her husband, making bold, unilateral moves in matters of state. For her, the ring's disappearance was merely a minor inconvenience. Camilla continued down her chosen path, unhesitatingly dismissing any worries or potential consequences that could impact their relationship and the monarchy. Everything truly erupted when Camilla's recent interview was released. Initially intended to demonstrate unity and strengthen the monarchy's image, it instead exposed a deep rift. Camilla's words and actions crossed a line, pushing their fragile relationship to its breaking point. Charles, already on the edge due to the missing ring, was now more incensed than ever. The fiery confrontation behind closed doors became inevitable, marking a painful turning point in their relationship. Looking back, the relationship between Charles and Camilla has always been rife with tension, arguments, and hurt. Behind the royal glamour lies a deeply emotional story scrutinized by the public and media for decades. Camilla was often depicted as the villain, the one who broke up Charles's marriage to Princess Diana, becoming the target of relentless public scorn and media criticism. That vilification profoundly wounded her personal life, creating scars that were slow to heal. Not only did she endure the harshness of public scrutiny, but Camilla also felt lonely and betrayed by the very husband she had trusted most. She always hoped Charles would step up to defend her honor and dignity, that he would use his power and influence to counter the wave of attacks. In reality, she frequently felt like an outsider abandoned in a battle beyond her control. The wounds from the past were never truly healed. That resentment and pain simmered like a slow-burning fire within Camilla's heart. Though Charles and Camilla eventually married, the hurt and bitterness from the past persisted like a quiet undercurrent between them. Behind their outwardly harmonious public appearances, many royal observers believe they never truly overcame their deep-seated conflicts. Camilla harbored feelings of abandonment, while Charles carried the guilt and remorse from previous events. These scars were never fully resolved, laying the groundwork for new conflicts. In recent months, their relationship grew even more strained as Camilla's power increased. Rumors of her growing influence circulated within royal circles, causing concern among many. Camilla no longer accepted a secondary role. Instead, she demonstrated independence and assertiveness through significant decisions, often disregarding many traditional protocols. Her candid public interviews, where she openly expressed her views, further fueled speculation about her ambition and preparation for an even more powerful position within the monarchy. These moves were not fully acknowledged by Charles, leading to underlying conflicts and mounting tension. Beyond the controversies surrounding titles or roles within the royal family, Camilla is still seen by many as the woman who played a part in the breakdown of the marriage between Charles and Princess Diana. Even as time has passed, Diana's image remains vividly etched in the hearts of the British public and people around the world. She was not merely a fashion icon or a royal figure, she was the embodiment of kindness, compassion, and grace. The pain she endured during her marriage to Charles only deepened public sympathy for her, elevating her to the status of a beloved figure who seemed to represent the emotional truth behind the palace walls. In that context, no matter how much Camilla tries to present herself differently, it is difficult for her to escape the long shadow cast by Diana's legacy. For this reason, Camilla's increasingly prominent presence in her new role has not only stirred conflicting reactions within the royal family, but has also reignited a wave of complex emotions among the public. To many, seeing Camilla in a position that Diana might have rightfully held is difficult to accept. Their reaction is not just to Camilla as she is today, but to the unresolved memories of a painful past. Her presence, even though now officially recognized, serves as a reminder of what was lost, not only the collapse of a royal marriage, but the enduring image of a woman who left an indelible mark on the soul of a nation. Their story was not one of public conflict or dramatic confrontations. It was a quiet tale of unresolved emotions, missed opportunities, and royal duties that shaped every decision. What began as a love triangle gradually evolved into a lifelong tension. As the years passed, both held firmly to their positions, continuing their roles within the monarchy with silent determination, but never truly side by side, duty over affection. She understood that many within the monarchy and the public held strong opinions about her. Determined not to let the past or others' expectations define her, she slowly and steadily began taking on more royal responsibilities. She immersed herself in charity work, stood by Charles at official events, and learned to move with grace and poise within the royal world. She was there to contribute. However, even with this change, their relationship remained formal. It never evolved into a deep connection. There was a courteous distance between them. At royal events, they were often seen standing near each other, smiling when expected, exchanging words when necessary. But their smiles rarely reached their eyes, and their conversations lacked warmth. To the outside world, they appeared polite. But to the more observant, it was clear that their relationship was more about maintaining appearances than enjoying each other's company. Much of this quiet tension stemmed from the differences in how they viewed their roles. As Camilla grew increasingly prominent and solidified her position within the royal family, King Charles began to feel sidelined like a monarch, overshadowed by his own wife. According to close sources, this created a deep sense of unease within him. Charles didn't want to be seen as a mere supporting figure in the royal narrative. He was determined to reclaim control and his true standing. He wanted to remind the public that he remained the sole head of state, holding the highest authority and responsibility within the British monarchy. One of the most pivotal moments in this struggle to regain power and respect came when Charles demanded the return of a precious pinky ring. This ring was far more than just a piece of jewelry. It symbolized his very soul and was a treasured emblem of his status and authority. Claiming the ring back was a clear statement that despite the changes around him, he was still the leader who could not be overshadowed or replaced in the eyes of the public or within the royal family itself. The demand for the ring's return made the atmosphere inside the palace unbearably tense. Witnesses described it as nothing less than an emotional explosion. Charles, filled with pent-up disappointment and fierce anger, directly accused Camilla of taking the ring he had been desperately searching for. His voice was laden with resentment, urgently demanding the immediate return of his sacred treasure, as if the ring was an inseparable part of him. Camilla remained silent at first, her eyes narrowing as she carefully weighed every word she was about to say, leaving those around her unable to predict her true intentions. Finally, with a cold and defiant tone, she uttered a sentence that seemed to freeze the entire palace. "What belongs to the king is mine." This statement was a powerful declaration, affirming her undeniable claim to power and status in this tense confrontation. Camilla's words landed like a fatal blow, cold and powerful, stunning Charles. Without hesitation, she retrieved the ring from her purse and placed it on the table before him, returning it with ease but loaded with meaning. This scene only ignited Charles's fury further, his frustration boiling over, causing him to explode. "You're done!" He roared, his voice unmistakably conveying pain, betrayal, and indignation. Instead of retorting with words or mirroring his anger, Camilla calmly turned and walked out of the room. Charles could only watch in stunned silence, confusion evident on his face. Those within the royal household who had long observed the strained dynamic between the couple recognized that the rift between them had reached an irreparable point. Their already fragile relationship now seemed to be officially broken. Rumors began to spread about Camilla's true motives behind claiming the heirloom ring. According to close sources, Camilla had long shown a particular interest in the ring, not only because of its royal symbolic value, but also due to its deep personal significance to her. For Camilla, the ring was more than just a symbol of power. It was a way to affirm her increasingly solid position within the monarchy, a tangible sign of recognition and respect she sought to obtain. However, Charles viewed the ring very differently. To him, it was not merely a piece of jewelry or a symbol of authority, but the very soul and identity tied to his deep feelings for his family and his role within the royal family. That is why when Camilla repeatedly demanded to possess the ring, Charles firmly refused. This refusal was not just about protecting a material object, but also about safeguarding the emotional and personal values that the ring represented. Charles's refusal acted as a catalyst, prompting Camilla to take unilateral action and acquire the ring herself. This wasn't an impulsive act, but a tacit declaration of her power and independence. This action crossed the delicate line between authority and trust, shattering the balance in their relationship. The seemingly inanimate ring had now become the catalyst for a fierce emotional explosion, shaking the fragile foundations of the royal family. Currently, Camilla is reportedly on a temporary retreat from royal duties, leaving the palace in an eerie silence. The question isn't just whether she will return, but whether this royal marriage can withstand the unprecedented shock stemming from a small symbol like the ring. The future of the British monarchy stands at a volatile crossroads, and the world watches every next development with bated breath. What do you think will happen next? Will Camilla return, or will she remain silent forever? Can this rift ever be healed? Don't forget to leave a comment with 1 if you sympathize with Camilla, or 0 if you have a different opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of the latest updates about the British royal family. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.